Get ready to crush it. Crush it.
Yeah.
This is the Crush It Podcast with Matt and Mason.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Crush It Podcast. I am your host with my co-host here, Matt Davis. I'm Mason Burchett. We are excited, Matt. We are in a different space today.
We are. This is
different.
The first time that we have gone on location. Isn't that what they say in the movies to record a podcast? So very excited about that. I do want to very quickly jump right into introducing our guest. This is actually the first time we've had multiple guests, if I'm remembering right, on one episode. And this is very exciting for me because of who it is. We are here at Cochran Enterprises in Loganville, Georgia, the home of HomeCraft Gutter Protection. And if any of y'all follow me, you see those shares and the post about that. We're here with the co-CEOs, Mr. Steve and Carey Cochran. We greatly appreciate y'all coming on with us today.
Thanks for having us.
So this is a little bit of a... I don't know the right term to use, a little bit of a starstruck moment for me, just in the fact, not trying to kiss up to the owners of the company I work for at all. But kind of. Yeah. But, you know, for me, and I'm showing a little bit of my hand here, but Mason can attest to this. Not long after I had been working here and we were sharing stuff from the Crush It podcast, I remember the first time that, I forget which one of you, somebody liked one of our posts on Facebook and it was like, hey, that's a big deal. You know, they see me. And then back in December, we were able to come down for a corporate meeting with HomeCraft Gutter Protection and got to really meet you gentlemen and get to have some conversations. And during that time through conversation, I had it in the back of my mind, had even mentioned it to Mason, hey, it would be awesome if one day we could have Stephen and Carey come on to the podcast. Yeah. But to be honest with you, back in December, I hadn't even been here a year yet. And so I didn't want to push anything, but through conversation, y'all were gracious enough to let me know, hey, we would be willing to come on if you wanted us. And so that night I got back, I called Mason, I said, hey, this is a reality, we can make this happen. So I greatly appreciate y'all being willing to do that. I appreciate the opportunity to come down, record, the opportunity you've given me to grow with HomeCraft. I want to go on record as saying that it has been a life-changing experience for me and my family, but that's not what we're talking about today. So with that being said, we want to jump right into it, and we've kind of got a direction we want to go, but what I'd like to start off with for people who haven't done the research into HomeCraft Gutter Protection that I have as an employee, but let's talk a little bit about how HomeCraft Gutter Protection came to be, how it started, and what got us here in 2021.
Okay. I'll let you start with your building experience.
Well, back in 1997, I built my first house. I was a drywall contractor before that, and I said, hey, let's go into the building because that was one of the parts of the pieces that I got to see pretty much before and after a house was finished. You know, like from a drywall stage, you could see all the sticks and all the insides of it, but on the you also got to see the finished product of it because once the drywall was done, you know, you had to go back and do warranty and touch-ups, and you would see the finished product.
Right.
So I had a keen interest in building, and so I went into the building business. And then what I did is I built probably three houses, and we got, you know, kind of when I was building the three houses, it was kind of a learning experience, and then we went from building the three houses to developing land and building hundreds of houses, and then in 2008 all that stuff crashed.
Right.
So all this experience that I had, I always looked at it as from a building perspective, that if I ever stopped building, I could always go back to drywall contracting. But the market had crashed, and surprise, there was no drywall.
Right.
So
It
from
was all
that,
gone.
it was all gone. So from that point of view, I really had to reevaluate everything that I was doing. You know, I had read a whole bunch of books during the whenever I was building, like the market and how it was untouchable and how strong the U.S. was, and and how it would take a major event for that to stop. So from a building perspective, I didn't see it stopping. I never seen it coming.
Right.
And it stopped, and I had nowhere to go. I couldn't go back to my trade that I had learned when I was young, and I had to come up with something. And I wound up losing my home. I couldn't fall back on anything, and everybody and their brother went into remodeling and refurbishing. But a lot of that was tied into credit and and what you could do, and I had lost all that. So I had somebody said, "Hey, go work at Home Depot. You could probably advance real quick with your knowledge," and I did, but it just was not really an outlet for me.
Right.
And my son, he had went to work for
Competitor.
Oh yeah, competitor. He called me up and he said, "Hey, I think that you'd be good at this. You ought at least consider looking at it." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And he told me, and I was like, "Okay, how does that work?" And it was a lot like we had installed gutters all the time, but I never had thought about gutter protection.
Right.
And it seemed like something that was different. I had seen gutter protection. In building, we had dealt with it some, but we hadn't dealt with it like on the level that he was dealing with it. So I went into the same company and we started running leads. And during that time, we just said, "Hey, what?" It was like a year into it. He was getting married, and we was going on a trip, like a little get together with a few people, and on the way he said, "Dad, what do you think if we started our own business?" And I said, "If you want to do it, I'm in." And that's about probably the conversation. It didn't take long, and then we started studying and trying to figure out how we would do it. And it was kind of an easy transition because I had dealt with construction.
Right.
And the new element of it was sales.
Yeah.
Carey was much better than I was at the sales part of it. Although I could sell, I didn't do bad at it. He was much better at it, I think, because of his. He hadn't had all this years of programming within him.
I was young, I was eager, I was ambitious, so I went to the company, worked for him for a couple of years, and what really, I always like to keep my word, Yeah. And when you're working for a company and, you don't feel like you're doing that, you go sell customers these products, and next thing you know, it's raining, and I'm getting a bunch of phone calls saying, "Oh, it's not working. It takes a toll on you."
Right.
So that's when he was experiencing the same thing out of his office. So we didn't like that.
Right.
I'm selling little old ladies, pretty expensive gutter guards that aren't working. It makes me feel bad. So,
Right.
We found our own product that we liked, basically, and that's pretty much how it goes from there. That was 2016. We installed our first job in January of 2016, and ever since then we've grown it.
That's awesome. I love, and one thing that I have loved about being a part of this company is even starting as a rep and then now having the opportunity to be in the management position, I have had people come to us from competitors and they say the exact same thing that you just said. "I don't feel good about what I'm doing."
Well, it's important because, one thing that construction, if you've ever been in construction or any type of organization that deals with home improvements, they all lack one thing, that's customer service.
Right.
They don't take care of the customer.
Yep.
Everyone becomes a number. The customers become a number. The employees become a number. Everyone becomes a number. It's just how do you grab as much money as you can, as fast as you can, then whatever happens after that doesn't matter.
Right.
And I think it's important as an organization to not think of everyone as a number.
Yeah.
Everyone, they have families that we got to take care of from start to finish, from the marketing all the way through production, all the way to taking care of the customer after production, after we get it installed and everything. And that's one thing that I can tell you every company lacks. And that's where we try to be better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can definitely testify to that. And I don't want our listeners to miss how big of an event that they just described after 2008.
Right.
It sounded kind of simple, right? Yeah, we just picked ourselves back up and we started this great business. What they didn't tell you was the sleepless nights, right? And the long hours and the early mornings and the hustle and the tears and everything that probably happened in the interim, right? Because what you guys did, after the housing crisis, picking yourselves up by the bootstraps and carrying on and building a wildly successful business, which I'll get you to run through those stats you told me a minute ago, is nothing short of a miracle. I mean, there are plenty of people that try to start small businesses and that experienced similar situations to you after the crisis that simply were not able to get back off the ground. And so the fact that you guys were able to build HomeCraft to what it is today is a testament of excellent leadership,
right,
and just grit and hustle.
Well, the problem is society, because all throughout school, all throughout middle school, high school, everyone's teaching you gotta do this, you gotta do this in this certain way, and everyone gets conditioned to do it that way. So I tried to do it that way, and it didn't work for me.
Right.
I went to college. I failed out of college. I didn't pass any classes. And, from there I was like, man, what do I do? So my brother was living in Guam at the time. So I figured, I'd go live with him overseas for a little bit and try to clear my mind, get everything geared. I started a business out there. It was like a water jetpack, if you've ever seen those on TV.
Okay.
I started that. That failed. Didn't make any money at it. So I moved back here, and that's when I got into the sales side of things. And, that's when I learned that it wasn't about necessarily doing what society wants you to do, doing, the whole college thing, getting hundreds and thousands of dollars in debt.
Sure.
And coming out with nothing.
Yeah.
Other than a piece of paper that says, now you can be hired for X amount of dollars per year. And, I know a lot of people that do that.
Sure.
And they end up, unemployed or whatever the case is. Now they're in debt, and, you didn't even get to the part to where, you did lose your house, but he lost more than that. He lost his car, you had to move. We had to start from scratch.
Yeah.
There was a hard point, to where we had to build a house in 60 days because we didn't have anywhere to live.
Wow.
What was it, 57 days?
It's 57 days.
57 days.
And imagine the stress, right, that surrounded that.
Oh, yeah, a lot of stress, and so we had to build this house, and all it was is basically the studs. We had to come in, we had to finish the entire house, just us two, and talk about stressful.
Yeah.
But
sometimes, the part of it is the darkness of not knowing where to go.
Right.
During this 2008, a powerful thing that I had witnessed, because I didn't want to be a failure in the beginning, was I didn't want everybody to see me as a failure. Right. Because I was successful at what I did. I had, at the height of the market, I had probably 35 houses that was in my possession. I had 180 lots that I had developed. I was considered successful in that realm. I had probably maybe 600 houses that I had built in combination of my own and for other people, and I was considered successful. But then all of a sudden, when that rug was pulled out from under my feet that I didn't think would ever go away, I had to reassess, and I found myself in a parking lot pretending like I was working just to make my wife think that I was being productive, with really zero hope, really a dark time for me.
Wow.
And it was, and I did that several days, and then even whenever I went to work with Home Depot, I would have people, and this was probably one of the hardest things that I had to deal with is people that worked for me, that was, I had a lot of successful people, that it didn't affect the same way because of maybe their trades was still valuable. And they would come to me and they would see me working in Home Depot. And nothing wrong with working in Home Depot or anything, but they would scratch their heads, you know, and they would be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I've had 2 people that came in and said, what are you doing?
Wow.
And then I had one of them said, do something. And it always stuck with me. Like, it bothered me during that time. Not that I was glad to have a job and I was getting reset for something great.
Right.
And I needed that time.
Sure.
You know, it was a season. It was a season of not knowing and where I was going. So I had to make these adjustments that was very powerful in my mind, a battle that I was having to face. And then when the opportunity, you know, even from what we were doing for our competitors was pretty hard. It was a pretty hard job too.
Right.
But, you know, being able to say, hey, how can I apply this in you know what I know?
Right.
It was powerful to be able to put what, you know, a different point of view on what we already did with construction, to be able to apply it a different way. And, you know, and that was a very powerful move, what we did, just, you know, not even thinking. I mean, it's kind of been, hey, do you want to go in the business? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever looked back, you know. And we hit the road now.
It was hard.
It's not easy.
First year, man, we didn't take a paycheck for the first, how long was it? 10 months?
Yeah, we had $3,800 bucks. 2,800 bucks.
$2,800
that we stuck.
I love that you remember the exact number.
The exact number, yeah.
I got a picture of it, actually.
Yeah, we had $2,800 that we put to the side. I'm a little older, so I'm probably senile a little bit. But, we had $2,800 that we stuck. We wrote the stuff on the board. We took pictures of it, and we said, "Hey, let's start this," you know. And to me, the hardest part of the whole vision, even though I don't think that we ever went in doubt in what we were doing.
Right.
Like, I've never had any doubt. We had to figure out the roadmap to it.
Yeah.
And we had to figure out, like, you know, we know we had the passion and the determination to do it, but I think the issue was getting other people to believe in us. That was a really hard thing to do, because, you know, when you first start anything, you don't have any credibility.
Absolutely.
They're showing up to a building. You have 0 sales numbers. It's hard to have a product because, again, we only had $2,800. So how are you going to go develop your own product, and how are you going to do all these different things? You know, when you have how are you going to attract a sales team and a marketing team and a production team into a little 600 square foot office space,
right,
you know, in an alley?
Yeah. And you're telling them you're successful.
Right.
Or that we're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hang
selling
with
a
us,
dream.
you know?
Right.
I was going to say selling a dream.
You're trying to sell the vision, you know. And
yeah.
We had a lot of people. We still have a lot of people that come up to us today and say, "I should have listened to you guys in 2016."
Yeah, and you say, "Well, too bad. It's 2021."
I don't. You know, if they're good for the team, we want good people.
Sure.
You know, good people, because that's what makes an organization.
Absolutely.
You know, the owners. You know, we don't make the organization. It's the people as a whole makes the organization what it is. That's right. You know, it's not successful without the people that are helping run it.
And running it like, you know, like really backing up and looking at all your parts and pieces to whatever you're doing is important too, because just because that person doesn't fit here doesn't mean he wouldn't fit over there.
Right.
And to me, that's one of the most powerful things that people can do, rather than just letting someone go. You know, is there other options, you know, for this person?
Right.
Especially if they're good people. You know, you don't want to let go of good people. But,
right.
But sometimes you have to.
Right.
You know, and that's a tough thing. But being able to put the people in the right positions is very, very important. You know, and sometimes people will surprise you because they have hidden talents that maybe they didn't even know they had, and you pull those out. You know, and
it's
like,
your responsibility as a leader to identify and develop.
Correct. You know, and a lot of people don't realize it. You know, like me, when I went into sales, I've never been in sales in my entire life.
Yeah.
You know, but unfortunately for me, I had a good mentor who was able to draw that out of me.
Right.
You know, draw my potential and teach me how to be the best, not just in sales, but just in life.
Yeah.
You know, and that's important, is to be able to, recognize it and be able to capitalize on it. You know, that's the reason why we have all these bracelets, everyone in the organization.
Yeah.
You know, now, he used to tell me that, now represents no opportunity wasted. You know, everyone's got opportunity.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like that a lot.
You know, you flip it on inside out, no opportunity wasted. Well, what he said, what he's told me a couple months ago is, which I love it because it stuck with me, is opportunity never leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It just transfers.
I like that.
The opportunity never goes away. You know, if we're looking for a sales manager, marketing manager, you may take it, you may not take it. It doesn't matter. Opportunity's still there.
It's always transfer.
Yeah.
Someone's going to take it. Someone's going to take the opportunity.
Sure.
You know, so as long as you're willing to take the opportunity and not just let it slip, you can grasp it. But
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you wait, and that's what the people were, 2016, they didn't see the now.
Right.
You know, make a decision now. That now is the only thing that's guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where depression and anxiety come from.
Sure.
You know, depression, you're worried about the past. Anxiety, you're worried about the future. The only thing you can control is literally right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing guaranteed.
It's good.
Absolutely. So I do want to back up to something that I think is extremely powerful, a statement that you made. You said, y'all didn't take, when you started the business, you didn't actually take a paycheck for like the first 10 months or something like that. Started with $2,800. I think that's very powerful, because I think a common mindset and misconception of starting a business that I think a lot of our listeners could take value from that statement is that people get the idea, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to start making money. And that's why I think a lot of people, they start something and in a month, 2 months, they're done because they're not making money. And I know you mentioned us getting into the stats here in a second, the growth that HomeCraft has seen. But the reality is, if you're serious about what you're going to do, there's going to be a long period of time. You start the business and you don't really start to reap the benefits. 10 months is probably when you started taking a paycheck, but it was probably quite a bit longer than that before you actually felt like, okay, we're making some money from the business we started.
From the determination, we always had the determination, and like once we set the wheel in motion, we said, we're dedicated to it.
Right.
I think we have a unique situation because for him to succeed, I benefit from that. Right. So it's like no one wants him to succeed, probably more than me or his wife.
Right.
So
right.
So I want him to succeed, but just because we had the determination and we knew we was going to stick to it, don't necessarily mean it's easy.
Right.
Because there's been times that we're going, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Or we had to, back up a little bit and say, well, this didn't work, and we had to do something else. But, quitting's really not an option.
I love that.
We have to push it, and we have to redirect it, and we have to, if something's working before and it's not working now, sometimes we might have to back up and go back to how we were doing it.
Right.
So there's a lot of growth.
Yeah, I mean, it's important, when you're saying failure, you mentioned this earlier. Failure is important. I know you said it's kind of cliche, right?
Yeah.
But it's important. You have to fail in order to be successful.
Yeah.
Because you don't learn by being successful. You learn from the failure, and we failed a bunch. I mean, but when you do that, it's important to recognize where you fell at. In order for you to recognize where you fell at, you got to have something you can control.
Yeah.
So when you're controlling your situation, like anytime we run any type of campaigns or sales, whatever the case is, you can isolate what's going on by changing one thing at a time. If you fail and you go back and you can change it, you can control it. If you can track it, you can target it, you can control the outcome of it.
Yeah.
Same thing with failure. Whenever I hear someone come in saying, hey, I don't want to fail, it's the wrong mentality, because I think failure is important for growth. Because you can control it.
Right.
And sometimes you can fail, like in my situation, it really caught me kind of, it blindsided me, and a lot of it was out of my realm of control. you know. And sometimes I think that's probably one of the most powerful things that I've had to do is be out of control to where I couldn't fix it.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I had to kind of ride the ride, you know, and it wasn't a fun ride.
Right.
And you know, whenever you're looking at, you know, I could control everything. When I was building, I could control a lot of things. Example would be I could go in there and do a lot of the work, and because I'm very hands-on kind of guy, I could save a lot of the money doing the work, and I could drop the price, and I could still sell it and make money.
Right.
You know, but then when the market fell, what you had is everybody had loans, right? Mm-hmm. So the failure was the banking system, really. But the thing is, I couldn't get out of it because I was signed to every one of them, so I had to ride that ride. You know, and there was no getting out of it, no matter what I tried.
Wow.
You know, and I had to ride that ride.
That's terrifying.
To the end.
Yeah.
And it was painful.
Yeah.
It was very painful, and it was I couldn't gain control of that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've done a lot of stuff with what we're doing now, as far as like there's a lot of experience I think that Carey is gaining from my mistakes now in this company. And one of them is we don't have debt. You know, we hadn't had debt since we started the company, and we don't owe anyone.
It's fantastic.
You know,
And that's not something a lot of people can say.
No, not at all.
You know, we just don't. We thought about it, but you know, to me, it's too painful. Because
Right.
I go, you know, because everything from the past was, you know, from a building perspective, from a home building perspective, all these loans was taking from me without any of my control. And some of them wasn't even ever late. But because they call a loan on one, they would call the loan on a whole bunch of them. So I was on the ride. We went on the ride. And I said, I don't want to run the business like that.
Right.
And he's respectfully agreed with me. And
Well, it's important, you know, when you're starting a business or you're making decisions in a business, you make them quick. You know, and we've had, you know, this lesson that we have to learn is, you know, sometimes you wait too long to make a decision because you're scared of the failure. You know, we'll go back to the failure thing, is that failure is good, you know. So whether the decision that you make is right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Make the decision. You know, make the decision.
Yeah.
You know, if you failed, fine. Learn from it. If you succeed, great. Learn from it. You know, so just make the decision. Don't wait on it. Don't dwell on it, because you know the decision will turn into a snowball effect. Then you'll start to get that anxiety. Am I making the right decision? Am I making the right call?
Right.
You know, one of my favorite quotes is, you know, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but you know, the road of life is paved with a bunch of squirrels who couldn't make a decision.
Yeah.
Go left, go right.
Absolutely.
Make a decision.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Make a decision.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whether it's right or wrong. If you want to start a business, start a business.
Yeah.
Make a decision.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to go sales organization, go into a sales organization. Make a decision. Don't sit there and dwell on it. Don't wait on it. Make a decision.
That's good. And there's such a valuable lesson to be learned from the experiences that you guys just had, talking about failure and learning from it. Because you hear people say failure is a great teacher. And it can be if you let it. And so what I hate seeing happen, I've seen this happen to people that's worked on my team before. They fail at something, they say, well, failed, it's over, you know. But I like your guys' mindset, and this goes back to the mindsets that we are always talking about. Yeah. They say, well, we failed, that didn't work, what do we need to fix? What do we need to tweak? What did we learn? What should we change to do this again or to do it a different way? And so allowing failure to be your teacher, what a waste it is, right? To fail.
It's uncomfortable.
And miss the opportunity to grow from it. And you guys capitalized on the opportunity. You learned from those failures. You allowed it to be your teacher.
Well, something we've talked about so much is, you know, like you said, a lot of times when people fail, they give up on the goal. Instead of, you keep the goal, you change the plan. If the plan fails, okay, what do we need to tweak? But the goal, the end game never changes.
You have to have a why on your goal. It's not just a goal.
Exactly.
You know, if you don't have a reason why you're doing what you're doing, it doesn't it's not as important to you as it needs to be.
Yeah.
You know, unless you have something on the reason why, whether it's family, whether it's religion, whether it's whatever the case
Sure.
is, have the reason why.
Yeah.
You know, same thing I preach to the sales reps all the time. What's your reason why you do what you do?
Absolutely.
Why do you do it? You know, and I think that's important. You know, if you're starting a business because you want to make more money, that's probably not the right mindset.
Right.
You know, is money a tool? Yeah, money's a tool, but what does money allow you to do?
Right. What are you going to do with the
Are
money?
you enjoying it?
Another thing you can catch yourself doing too is getting caught up on the details of it. You know, sometimes you like, what do I want my business cards to look like? Should they say this or should they say that? Or should should I have it? You know, this logo look good or this logo?
Yeah. What colors do I use?
Yeah. What colors do I use? What's how's my letterhead look? And
Right.
What's my
you sit
official
there
title?
Yeah, and you sit there and you spend all this time, and guess what? Just make the cards.
Right.
Just make
Put something out there. Yeah.
You know, and get started. And guess what? We don't use anything that we started with. Everything's refined.
Sure.
It's been refined ever since we started.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is just start.
That's great.
Just start somewhere because it's not going to be. You're going to change it.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same in 6 months from now.
Right.
You know, anyways.
Right.
You'll have somebody tell you it needs to be different, whether it's your lawyer or your wife or
Right.
I mean, it's
somebody.
funny, you know, just the amount of people that we've ran into in our career building, you know, this business is everyone wants to tell us how to run it.
I was going to say, everybody that's never built a business knows how to build a business.
You know, you guys need a big building. You guys need a nice car. You need to hire $150,000 a year salary sales people. You got to do all these different things. Does it work? Maybe. But if you're not there and you started with $2,800, that's not going to happen.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
That's not happening. You got to convince people on the vision on getting them to try to work for free if you can.
Sure.
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the sell. You know, but you know it is tough. You know,
And it's really easy for other people to spend your money.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
The owner of my company will love this episode.
Absolutely.
He'll love that line.
Because you're spending his money on marketing dollars, so he'll make sure that's funny.
Yeah, what a good conversation. I want to switch gears because I want to make sure we don't miss something in this conversation. Because you guys are father and son combo, and that's such a cool element of this business I don't want to miss. Because my dad and my working relationship is usually me holding the flashlight, he's working, and it ends in, son, go inside and help your mother.
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys were able to build such a wildly successful company as a father and son team, what has that dynamic looked like for you guys working together?
There's been a whole lot of people that's asked that question. And
all the time, actually.
Yeah, and it's usually, I couldn't work with my dad. Or, I couldn't work with my son. And I think it's kind of sad through my eyes, but maybe I'm just extremely blessed. I've never felt that way. I've never felt anything like that. I can't relate to it.
That's awesome.
But
That's great.
I'm sure that it exists. But
I was going to say the same thing. I think it's funny because both our mentalities are the same. I'd be willing to lose the entire business and give it to him if it got that way. And I'm sure he feels the same way about that.
I'd walk away from it.
Yeah, it's not worth it. For me, it's not
Wow.
worth it. One thing about us is I can tell you, and we're not greedy. I think that's the reason why we've probably gotten where we've gotten is because we're not greedy. We're not out there taking all these profits and stuffing them in our pocket. We're trying to make sure our people are taken care of, making sure they have, the tools they need to do their jobs. And I think a lot of businesses fail because of greed.
we have a 5-minute policy. And have I made him angry? I'm sure I have. And has he made me angry? I'm sure that he's made me angry.
Right.
Or maybe not angry, but we've had our disagreements, and we hadn't always seen eye to eye, but we said 5 minutes and we're over it.
Yeah.
We're gonna move.
Yeah.
We're gonna move in one direction. Right or wrong, we're gonna move, and we're not gonna take it personal. And I think that policies work very well for us.
I think that is a fantastic answer. Is it the juicy, dramatic answer that I think a lot of people want when they ask you that question? But what it comes back to is something that we are trying to really build our whole platform around is that you do not have to sell out family, morals, character, and the basics that God gave you. You don't have to sell that stuff out in order to have success in life and build wealth. And I think a lot of people have that misconception. Well,
who did you sell your soul to?
They're wealthy. Yeah. What did you do? Yeah. Who did you hurt?
Well, it's funny because wealth comes in many different facets.
Absolutely.
A lot of people think of wealth as, oh, you got a lot of money, but it's not.
It's not.
Money's a tool.
Exactly.
You got health, wealth, love, happiness, and if you're a religious man, your religion.
Yeah.
Those 5 things I think are probably very important.
Absolutely.
To at least be happy. You can be happy not making money. As long as you enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. You have to enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar. You help someone get what they want, then you can have anything you want.
Yep.
So our job is to help people get what they want.
Yep.
What makes you happy? What do you like? Do you like this? Like my dad said, if you don't fit in this jewelry box, maybe you just need to be turned a different direction towards the sun. Maybe you'll shine a little bit better. Or do you need to go over here? But we're not one, and that's where the decision, where we struggle with making decisions. That's part of it. Sometimes we leave them in this jewelry box for too long, and they don't belong there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They need to go over here.
Because you're hoping for something.
Right.
Yeah, you're hoping you can pull it out, but you can only pull something out if someone wants to be better. If they don't want to be better, they don't want to get, they don't want to improve their life or, figure out a new life skill. It's very difficult to pull
and it's hard to determine.
And typically you'll see that in an organization when you bring someone in who brings positive energy, and who wants to make someone better, people feel uncomfortable about that. And that's when you'll see people starting to leave because of this, not because a person, is a bad person, but the person's trying to make people better. We have several managers like that they want to bring out the better in people. They don't want to just, accept, one of our sales manager, be great. His motto, be great. Be great. Simple.
Yeah.
Be great.
Yeah. But it works.
It works.
It works.
Be great. Don't just settle for mediocre. If you want to be better, become better. I used to have a saying that I used to tell myself, act the part, live the part, become the part. Act it. If you don't, with that saying, fake it till you make it. Yeah, fake it because, it makes you feel better. At least you're trying to push yourself in the right direction.
Yeah.
Then you eventually, it's like law of attraction. You attract things. You attract different types of energy.
Right.
If you're a happy person, you're going to attract the right people. And that's another one of my favorite quotes. I got a lot of them. Trust me.
We all do. It's
this is great teaser material.
And I try to put myself in this mentality all the time. Is if you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Love it.
Yep.
Love that one.
And it's very true because if you want to be great, surround yourself by people that are more like-minded, with you, or people that want to make you better, that want to push you to be better. Don't just, like your accountability. If you're on a weight loss journey, surround yourself by people that want to push you.
Exactly.
If you really want it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's good. And at the end, because at the end of the day, what you just said is very true. I was talking to a customer the other day that was upset. He was upset, and I was like, look, man, we're just 2 guys. We're just 2 guys. Let's talk like humans and figure this out, right? Because at the end of the day, the business ownership, we've celebritized it, especially for people that are hungry for success. And these business owners and business leaders are celebrities in their own right, and for good reason. They worked hard to get where they're at, but it almost dehumanizes them to the point of something that's not attainable. Yeah. And so what you're listening to, that's the whole point of the Crush It podcast. We're sitting down. We're all just guys, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you guys had a certain mindset, and you did something. And it's not something that's a secret sauce that you can't share with anybody else. It's something other people can do.
Right.
It's proven it can be done if you just stick to the plan and adapt and overcome. So what a cool conversation, Matt. We're going to have to wrap this one up, and I want to wrap it up with a pretty bow. So HomeCraft started with $2,800 in a dream. And fast forward half a decade, and you were telling me some really impressive stats about where HomeCraft is. This isn't just a run-of-the-mill gutter company. HomeCraft is proving that it's here to stay, and it's a class act, world-class organization. Tell me some of the impressive statistics about HomeCraft.
Well, Carey submitted us into a magazine called Inc. 5000. It's a very popular magazine.
Right.
And this year we had ranked 309th in the United States. As fastest growing companies. Out of that 309th, because we was 309th, we actually got an Inc. 500,
right,
which was a branch of that.
More elite, obviously.
Yeah, more elite, absolutely.
So I was curious, and you can go online and you can look at how they come up with these numbers and stuff like this. All this stuff has to be proven through your CPA.
Yeah, break them down by category.
Sure.
Right.
So from a gutter protection company, we was definitely the fastest growing gutter protection or gutters protection company in the country. But as I started playing with the numbers and stuff, just under construction, when I did away with all the construction, we was number one in Georgia, and we was ranked number 7th in the United States as the fastest growing.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
That's incredible growth.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, we grew from our first year, 2016. We had a target of about 350,000 was our target. We ended up doing just under 700,000. 2017 we did 1.8 million. 2018 we did 3.6. 2019 we did. We did $9.8 million in 2019, and this past year we did just under 26 million. And this year we're targeted around 50 to 60 million. So we're wanting to grow, but again, all that starts with having the right people. And
right.
If I could say one thing is, that helps the organization is having the right people.
Yeah, which that's something I know we're trying to wrap up. I'm bad to just keep going. But I actually just celebrated 1 year with the organization, and I can attest to in the last year, it has been very exciting to see not just growth, but honestly growth during a time in our nation where a lot of people were just holding.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, we don't know what's going on.
It's another 2008.
Yeah. And so through a pandemic, through a lot of, honestly,
an election year, that's
political
tough.
Uneasiness around, we grew. We kept opening offices. We kept putting, and it goes back to what you just said, putting the right people in the right places. And I've watched over the last year. I think that growth has been a result of, there's even been some positions that were created. People put in the right person in those, and it has allowed HomeCraft during a time when most organizations, most people were retreating a little bit and holding in. If I'm not mistaken, our goal for last year at the beginning of the year was 20,000. Is that or
20 million?
20 million
was the goal.
Yeah, and so through a pandemic that everybody was freaking out over, we didn't just, as a company, we didn't just not grow.
You did creep into the goal, yeah.
Yeah, we hit the gas and exceeded that. And that's been very exciting for me. I love growth. I love to be around growth. And that's been exciting to me see the trajectory.
But not without work or without a change of plan.
Right.
We was forced to change.
Oh, yeah.
Adapt.
Pivot.
Yeah.
You gotta adapt.
It's fantastic.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I really appreciate that sentiment. People make the difference. I say this, I preach this to our people at Best Buy Metals. Culture directly affects the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Directly affects the bottom line. The wrong culture is going to hurt the business. Guys, this was a pleasure.
Fantastic.
I really appreciate you guys coming on the podcast. There was a ton of practical value.
Yeah.
So rewind this one, listen to it again. It's going to take you a couple listens to pull all the information out of this one. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing to the podcast. And if you've got questions about this episode, shoot them to us. I'm sure they'd be glad. We'd forward them to you. I'm sure you guys would be glad to answer those. We'd love to hear from you and get some feedback on the episode. Check out thecrushitteam.com. You can find all of our episodes, and you can find some of the materials we're putting out in the future.
Absolutely. Check out the website. Check out the YouTube channel.
That's right.
Make sure that you subscribe. Don't just listen to the podcast. It helps us.
Right. Don't just say, well, that was
subscribe. Good. Yeah. Throw a subscribe on there. We do appreciate that. But, guys, thanks again for listening. Whatever you're doing, wherever you're at in your life, whatever success means to you, just crush it.